and welcome to Mortgage 101. I'm Lisa Dwyer. I've been a licensed professional mortgage originator for about 13 years, and I've seen the ups and downs of the mortgage industry, rates high and low, and values up and down, but it's still an exciting, highly rewarding job for me because I love it so much. I enjoy helping people with purchasing their first home and seeing their excitement and getting through the closing and trying to inform them the whole time on what it is that we do for them. And I really enjoy helping people save money, and that is refinancing them and trying to give them reprieve on their high interest rate or high payments, or lowering their rate and term for them. So I love my job, and I'm here today to try to educate you, our viewers in the community, to all of the processes that come across with your mortgage. My goal is to try to be fun and informative. It's fun for me. I'm not sure how fun it'll be for you. But I try to bring professionals on with me to help with different facets of the mortgage. And today I have a great guest, Tom Richardson from Liberty Title. He is the owner and the general counsel.
Oh, good.
So thanks.
Good morning, Lisa. It's nice to be here, and while we have a number of things to go over today, I'm really going to work on making sure people understand this. We're going to talk about tenancies and how you hold title to property, which, while some people may think it's dull and dirt, it's really important. So,
it is. It's so important. And if you don't know and understand how to hold the title, it becomes very confusing and can get you in some legal trouble.
yes, probate, tax problems, creditors
Sure.
problems, lots of things that can come back to bite you if you don't do it right.
The first thing I want to know is if you could explain to the clients that I have all the time and the viewers the different types of legal entities.
Yeah, in Michigan, in order to hold title to real estate, you have to be recognized by the state as a person in the eyes of the law. Of course, natural people are persons, but we also recognize certain entities, the limited liability company, the corporation, and the partnership as well. And then certain types of trusts can hold title to property in Michigan, but not all. That's a point we'll circle back to.
How do entities hold title?
Well, basically what happens is you deed the property into it, and if you're not a person, all entities have to hold title in what's known as a tenancy in common. That's because they're immortal. The corporation can go on forever, and the other types of tenancies in Michigan all require a survivorship feature. So if you have a corporation, an LLC, a partnership, trust, they have to hold title as a tenant in common.
I understand that. And that's the most, joint tenancy to me is the most, that I see the most.
Yeah, you see this, some of the species of joint tenancies most
Right.
often. A tenancy in common, though, is pretty straightforward. It's a proportional ownership in land. If, for example, a deed ran to you and I, Lisa, and it didn't say anything more, just said to Tom Richardson and Lisa Dwyer, we would hold as tenants in common, each to a 50% interest. We both can use the property. You can sell your interest. I can mortgage mine without your consent. We're both entitled to possession of the property, and that's a tenancy in common. The deed could recite, however, that you get 90% and I have 10%. Again, our proportional shares, you'd get 90% of the rent, but you could sell your 90% without my consent. I could mortgage my 10% without your consent.
And I don't want people to get confused. For example, a husband and wife.
Yeah.
Give us a sample of, I walk in, or my clients walk in, husband and wife, how would they hold title, and what does that mean to them?
Okay, well, it's extremely important that we get this right, particularly in the husband-wife context. Husbands and wives can hold title to property by a unique tenancy that's called a tenancy by the entireties. What it is the law views the husband and wife as a single entity, a unity. And a tenancy by the entireties has a survivorship feature. That means that when one spouse dies, the other automatically takes title to the property. It also has a feature that prevents severability. Neither the husband nor the wife, acting alone, can mortgage the property, can sell the property or can subject the property to the claims of their individual creditors, which is probably the most important point.
Well, this is what happens a lot of times. People will come in and they will say, I just had a divorce and I need to refinance my home. And it's on the divorce decree. It says here that I have, I have to do this. He no longer has to pay the payments and I need to get him off and I need the house in my name. And I say, well, where's the husband?
Yeah, where's the husband? Because unless the court decree specifically transferred title, he would still have an interest in the property as a tenant in common because they're no longer married, but his interest would need to be disposed of unless, and we'll talk about this in a later segment when we discuss court transfers, the divorce decree has a self-executing feature. There are two other types of joint tenancies.
Yeah, there's three main ones, right?
Yeah, there's the entireties tenancy, and then there's a plain joint tenancy, which has all the attributes of a tenancy in common, except it's severable by either party. You can if you and I held as joint tenants, you could sell your half interest to someone by deeding it to them, and then I would hold as a tenant in common with them.
Well, tell me what type of situation that would be. Would that be children and a parent? Or tell me explain that a little bit more.
Yeah,
give me a sample.
Well, that particular tenancy, the plain joint tenancy, I don't really see a lot of use for. There is a third species of joint tenancy called the joint tenancy with full rights of survivorship.
Okay.
That I think is very important. And that's one that I would recommend for parents and children, where they want to make sure that everybody gets the property and share it. Because in a joint tenancy with full rights of survivorship, I call it a joint tenancy on steroids, you can't really sell your interest. Because if, for example, you and I held as joint tenants with full rights of survivorship, and you deeded your interest in the property to someone, what they would get is the right to possess the property with me for as long as you lived. And if you outlived me, when you died, they would take whole.
And that is more common. That is really more common.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for joining in today. We are talking to Tom Richardson, the attorney and owner of Liberty Title, and there's some great information for you regarding your title and how to hold ownership. We'll be right back after this.
I'm program director.
Production supervisor.
Producer, editor.
All right, Mr. Tweedle, are you ready?
I'm an editor at Oxford Community Television.
I am the station manager.
What?
We're rolling. I'm proud to be a producer here at Oxford Community Television.
Action.
What do you do at OCTV?
I do science in the news and auto talk.
Politicians!
I'm sorry, I didn't say the right things.
What do I do? I'm a jack of all trades.
Actually, I almost got to play a dead body. You made more money if you played a dead body.
I love working here.
I graduated from Bell and Howell.
I went to school for it.
Team player here.
Hi, Kelly.
Dave.
I bring all the shows that you watch together.
In the business for 40 years. I've been a production manager, I've been a program manager, I've been a general manager.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Wham! Wham! I'm a big part of the Addison Living Show.
OCTV has some of the most imaginative people working here.
You can take a story and turn it into something visual.
I'm constantly an individual who wants to learn things.
I do this because we are your voice.
Oh, I love to do music stuff here with OCTV.
I love enthusiasm. I love people who enjoy their job.
He can do that.
Anything about broadcasting, I just really loved it.
We want you.
I am.
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 I am OCTV. I am OCTV.
I am OCTV.
I am OCTV.
I am OCTV.
I am OCTV.
I am OCTV.
We can do this.
Welcome back. I'm Lisa Dwyer, and this is Tom Richardson with Liberty Title, and we're talking about ownership and the types of title and how you would own your home. We talked about the tenancies and three different ways. We're going to talk about getting married and if all my property and my husband's property becomes entirety's property. So we're gonna go into that a little bit because this is a very common thing that happens in our industry.
Yes, Lisa, unfortunately, people have a misconception that when you get married, it changes the title to your real estate. While it does create a dower interest in the husband's real estate, title isn't changed by the fact of marriage alone, and this causes a lot of problems, particularly when a couple holds property as a tenancy in common. They then get married and do nothing. They think they hold as entireties, and when one spouse dies, you have to open a probate estate. Key thing we always do at Liberty Title, when we have a couple that's coming in that are fiancés buying property or something, I give them my card and say, when you get married, come back. We'll create a deed as a wedding gift for you to put it in that entirety's property.
Oh, that's great. And we do have that come in. We have a lot of people that are getting married. They're not married yet. They're doing their loan application as two single. And then sometimes, let's say we know they're moving in together, we know they're getting married, but she doesn't have a job, or or he makes most of the income, or she doesn't have the credit to support the mortgage that they want.
Yeah.
So we'll put it in one, either his or her name, even though they're both moving in, and then our title would be labeled as joint.
No, at that point, if it's in one, that person's holding it. But when they get married, they need to then affirmatively come in. We'll do a deed.
And we talked about that with Lisa from your office as well.
Very inexpensive to do.
Very
Saves
good.
a lot of hassles.
Very good. Now, we talked a little bit about probate, but we want to get into trust. What types of trust are there so people understand what they need a trust for, first of all, and what different types there are?
Okay. Well, a trust is a legal relationship between basically three parties. There's the grantor or settlor who puts the property in and determines the terms of the trusts. Basically writes out an instruction manual telling the trustee, the second party, what they're supposed to do with the property. And then the third party to a trust agreement are the beneficiaries, the people who are going to receive the benefit of the property placed in a trust. Where it gets confusing is that one person can fulfill all three roles in the most common trust used in Michigan, the Revocable Living Trust, which basically is an estate planning tool set up by a person to avoid the probate process and also to have some control over their property after their death. For example, if they have a spendthrift son, they don't want upon their death their son to be handed a blank check for $100,000.
Yes.
They want someone managing that.
And a lot of people ask me, well, I have a will, but I don't have a trust. It's not the same.
No, they're not the same.
And explain, just a little bit about both of them, the differences. One?
Yeah, the will basically sets up what happens to your property when you die. And it's usually rather straightforward. My house can be sold and the price divided amongst my children. Each one of my children can take the house, etc. It becomes effective on death. A trust is effective while you're living.
That's a very good point. So the will is for when you're passed, and the trust is, now what's a living will, the difference between the living will and the trust?
Oh, well, a living will is something that really deals with your medical conditions. I think a better term for it these days would be a medical power of attorney. And it's basically when you appoint someone to make medical decisions about you when you're incompetent to do so.
Right.
Do they continue with heroic measures in the hospital, or do they pull the plug?
Right. So there's a lot of different terms and terminology, not only for your mortgage, but for your health and wills and trust. Liberty Title is a wonderful source. They have staff attorneys. Of course, Tom is the head attorney and the owner of Liberty Title, and we want you to be able to go to them regarding any information that you hear today. Sometimes we talk a little fast, or sometimes we use words that are not common to everyday. We're in this business, so to us it's very natural to hear these terms. But we do have everything on paper, so that if you want to understand it a little bit more in depth, or if there's something that you missed during the episode, we do have that available at mtg101.net, or you can call our office at any time, 248-627-7283, and I will give you the link to the Liberty website, which is also on our website, and or the phone number, and they have several locations all around Michigan.
Yes, and we're a 100% Michigan company. Our family's been in the title business for 58 years. My son's just joined the company, the third generation. And we're really here to help consumers. We want to make the real estate closing and ownership process very simple for people. And with our pretty professional staff, we've got 10 offices, about 100 of us working on it. We can make sure your transaction goes smoothly,
right, 'cause it is
especially
very
with a good
confusing.
lender.
See? Well, thanks for that. And I love our relationship, and I love that you guys are so willing. My clients will call, and we don't even have the closing scheduled yet, and you're sending out deeds to California to get things signed. You always go above and beyond. So we really appreciate that. But I mean, the fact that they have attorneys on staff, and they know about short sales and foreclosures and just informative, free information, just because they're a great stand-up company, is such a benefit to us. So I'm just so excited you're here, and I know this stuff is kind of really intricate, but again, call if you have any questions. So I want to go into, just real quick, other entities that can hold. I know the most common type for real estate is a limited liability, or LLC, but there's also corporations and partnerships, right?
Right. The LLC is the most common form. It's created when you file what are called articles of organization with the state of Michigan, and then you execute an operating agreement between the members of the LLC governing who manages the property, how they contribute their money, how the money's distributed. And what's really nifty about an LLC is right in the name. It's a limited liability company. It sets up an entity in the eyes of the law that creditors can't pierce to go after the assets of the members. Say, for example, and where we see it most often is rental properties.
Right.
Someone will buy a foreclosure.
Right, and we get a lot of people that do this when they are going to buy many investment properties.
Yep.
But we'll be right back after this, and we're going to go over the differences between the limited liability, the LLCs, and all of the corporate type of entities.
Correct.
So thanks for watching. We'll be right back.
The American Legion. We're a powerful force for the nation. We're patriots through and through. We believe in our flag and all that it stands for. Our Constitution, our Pledge of Allegiance, our way of life are all fundamental to maintaining our freedom and the standing that we have as the greatest country on earth. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. Go to legion.org to find out more about the American Legion's commitment of service to America.
President Roosevelt signed the Bill of Rights. I've always appreciated the American Legion.
My gratitude to the American Legion.
Thank you all of the American Legion.
We have millions of veterans that are members of our organization.
Thank you.
The American Legion, celebrating a legacy of service to America. Find out more at legion.org. The American Legion. We're a powerful force for the nation. We're the largest veteran service organization in the nation, with 2.5 million members. And when you add to that the American Legion Auxiliary and the Sons of the American Legion, we have a family of 4 million members, working hard every day for our veterans, our youth, and our communities. Go to legion.org to find out more about the American Legion's commitment of service to America.
Thanks for watching and welcome back to Mortgage 101. I'm Lisa Dwyer. This is Tom Richardson, the owner and attorney for Liberty Title. And we were talking about the different companies, liability, what else did we have?
The corporation.
Yeah, so we're going to go into the differences of a limited liability and a corporation.
Yeah. Well, the LLC, the key thing about that, Lisa, is you can have a single member LLC. One person can put property into a limited liability company and basically manage it themselves and protect their other assets from creditors. Say there was a slip and fall or something. You also get that protection when you put property into a corporation, that limitation of liability. The disadvantage of a corporation, however, though, is it's a separate tax entity for state and federal purposes unless it's organized under Subchapter S of the Internal Revenue Code. You get the limitation of liability, but you have more taxes. And then the final means of holding title is in a partnership, although I rarely, if ever, see this anymore because the partnership doesn't have the limitation of liability that an LLC has. Creditors can reach through and get the assets of the partners. It does have the pass-through tax features. It's not taxed like a corporation.
Is there one that's better than the other?
Yeah, the LLC really is the way to go in the modern era. I think we'll see fewer and fewer partnerships.
And the difference between a corporation and S corporation, and I know this is a little bit off of the title, but you're an attorney, so everybody loves free attorney advice. So give us a little bit of differences about the corporations.
Well, an S corporation is a pass-through entity like an LLC. It doesn't get separately taxed. The problem you have with an S corporation is it's a lot more formal. Corporations in general are more formal in terms of how they have to be conducted with minutes kept, etc. S corps have limitations on the number of shareholders they can have. You can't have multiple classes of stock. And then the problem with a C corporation is that 34% corporate income tax rate,
right,
as well as Michigan now has a 6% corporate income tax rate on C corporations. So I think we're all going to see real estate held as LLCs. Chrysler Corporation is no longer Chrysler, it's Chrysler LLC.
Oh, really? See that? Well, and I think that taxing has a lot to do with it. I think that the legal ramifications of each of the corporate structures make decisions for the company on how they're going to proceed with their corporation. I want to talk today a little bit about the document of the day.
Okay, our document of the day is the certificate of trust. And remember how I said a trust is basically a set of instructions as to how property is to be handled. Well, we need, when we're examining title, to know that the trustee is following those instructions and that the right person is trustee.
Right.
So under Michigan law, we have this document called the Certificate of Trust, which needs to be recorded when a trust is buying, selling, or mortgaging property. It basically explains who the grantor of the trust was, who the trustee is, what powers the trustee has, and relates it to the piece of property so that 100 years from now, someone looking at the Register of Deeds office can see that when Lisa Dwyer, trustee of the Lisa Dwyer Trust, sold real estate, the trust didn't contain any provision that might have required, say, the consent of one of her beneficiaries. So we prepare these. If you don't have one, a good
Right.
trust and estates attorney will prepare them for you when you do your trust as well.
We have a lot of people, and this is a pretty big issue in a closing situation, where they have a trust and they only want to give me one page. Well, here's the page. This happens to you as well, correct?
Yeah.
Here's one page of my trust I need to close and tell everybody what we have to do. We need the whole thing.
Right.
And we need to take it out.
And this
put it
was
back in.
something my dad brought home to me years ago when he was handling property that was in the Dodge estate. The Dodge Trust provided that the beneficiaries of the trust had to consent to the sale or mortgage of the real estate. So my father had to examine the trust and then go get the consent of the beneficiaries. We're very sensitive to the private nature of these instruments. When they're given to us, they're only reviewed by our attorneys who will prepare the certificate. They're given back. We don't put any confidential information in the certificate. And we're all subject to attorney-client privilege. They don't need to worry that we're...
Right, but there's nothing we're going to do to your trust when we ask you for it. We do have to review it. Actually, I don't. As the mortgage professional, I have to send it to the title company, and the attorneys touch it. They look at it. They make sure it's all okay. You have to take the house out of the trust, correct, and then put it back in? To explain that just a little bit.
Yeah, usually to have a low interest rate mortgage, it has to be saleable in the secondary mortgage market. And very rarely will those secondary buyers purchase a property that was held in trust. We do what we call sandwich deeds. We review the trust, we prepare the certificate, we have the trustees deed to the current individuals. They then sign the mortgage, getting the great rate individuals can, and then they put the property back in the trust. So we sandwich the mortgage between the two deeds.
And then we put it back in.
Yep.
You put it back in, nothing happens to the trust, nothing changes except for the mortgagor or the mortgagee, and that's about it. It's the same trust. All the rest of the information in the trust is the same except for
Correct.
the mortgage.
Now just there's a piece of property that has a low interest rate mortgage on it.
Yes, you're saving money. Well, thanks so much, Tom. This certainly explains why you should see a lawyer. Definitely not a mortgage person when it comes to this type of thing. You want to see an attorney, and there's great attorneys available, including Tom Richardson at Liberty Title. It explains why you want to have the right tenancy or entity to accomplish your goals and your objectives. And today, I think I've obtained my goal. I want to educate you regarding anything mortgage related, and we try to do it fun. And I believe we did that today. It was fun for me. How about you? Was it fun?
Enjoyed it, Lisa. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Oh, that's great. If you have any questions or if you want information in written form from today's episode, please call 248-627-7283, or you can go to Mortgage One, and that's MTG101.net. Thank you so much. I know I talk fast, but it's okay. We'll get it all to you in writing. And look forward to some new shows coming up. We're going to have some House representatives here. We're going to talk about the state of Michigan and the mortgage crisis and what we're trying to do to try to help that. We're going to have an episode on understanding your credit. And we've got lots of great episodes. I'm going to have an appraiser here, an insurance agent coming in to talk about your homeowner's insurance. So I'm really excited. And thanks again for watching. God bless.